When did we get this back, Sean?
The 22nd of September.
So that was a Thursday, a week ago.
Yes.
Because today's like the 28th? Yeah, today's the 28th. A Wednesday. Is that the right math? Yeah, because 7 and 22 would be 29. So tomorrow would be the 29th. Well, Mr. Haynes, the attorney at the Federal Trade Commission, he didn't get his letter. Isn't that funny? This guy's worked there for over 20 years and they couldn't get it to him. But you know, I do have the room number and the floor and all that stuff. So let's go open this up. And this will be the beginning of our second disc to, who are we sending this to?
Joyce Riley and...
Well, Joyce Riley. So we're sending this to Joyce Riley. Might go some other places though, huh?
Yeah.
This might even end up on our website, mightn't it?
It might.
Well, let's go indoors and open this, or do you want to open it right here?
It wouldn't matter to me.
Ah, all right. Well, it's all sealed. So what's in here?
A letter.
A letter. Wow. Let's see. Return to sender. And what day did we send this? The 9th or something?
The 9th. Friday, the 9th of September.
Wow. Can you see that real good? What's it say?
Proof of service. I, the undersigned, do swear and affirm that I placed this item for William L. Haynes into the U.S. mail with appropriate postage for delivery to William L. Haynes, attorney, FTC, 600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20580.
This is when you put it in, was the 9th.
Yes.
Wow, I keep thinking it was a Thursday. Wow, there it is. The William L. Haynes letter. Do we have this on a stick or something?
Yes.
So we can put this right into the system. So this is the letter. This is what we sent, isn't it?
Yes.
Is this stuff close enough on this film that they can see that what we're going to send them is going to be this?
No, it won't read it.
Can
no
you
matter
take
how
a,
close I get.
even if you took a still shot of that one, a still shot of that one?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is what was in the envelope, huh?
Yep.
All right. Well, let's go have a look at this and see what we got, because this is beginning. Wait, what's today's date again?
28th.
It's the 28th of September, and where are we standing?
Behind the Fierro.
Behind the Fierro. This is Mr. Sean Wright, and I'm George Lee Harris, Jr.
How?
Hi, guys. Well, let's go see what we can do. Maybe we can get that on screen. You want to try right now?
Sure.
All right. Wow, what am I holding?
Letter to William L. Haynes that got returned to sender.
Well, what we're going to do is open this up again. We've already opened it, and this is the how many pages are in here?
Proof of service and 2
No,
pages
how
of
many
the letter.
pages? Not what
Total
was on it.
3.
3 pages. Well, I have more than 3. Oh! We have more than 3.
Mm.
Yep, we have more than 3. Well, we have a proof of service is 1 page. And William L. Haynes, page 1. And the second page, and then the page with my signature on it. So, we're going to start at page 1 of the William L. Haynes letter. Across the top of the page it says Yahweh. 4 letters, the Tetragrammaton, YHWH. 8/19/2011. William L. Haynes, attorney, FTC, which stands for Federal Trade Commission. 600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20580. Hi, Bill. Good morning. What's so good about it? Question mark, exclamation mark. Plainly, we're alive and we can make the necessary changes or adjustments to our world for real, quote, real and permanent good, unquote. A quote by Andrew Carnegie. And the body of the letter begins. Our last pertinent contact went out as a worldwide press release in 1992. The time of said release was tandem to George Herbert Walker Bush taking his trip to Korea, Japan, China, etc. with the boys from Motorola and others, while Lee Iacocca took his boys in their own jet. The Chrysler corporate aircraft came home first, and Lenin made no bones about the straight screwing that was coming to the USA. Our worldwide press release, which also went to Deborah Blevis for Energy Efficient America, Red Polling of Ford Motor Company, MIT, and many, many others. And your FTC was entitled Catalytic Converters Are Obsolete. Something new then, our newest now. Our newest then was a gasifying carburation system for gasoline-powered anythings, even though our gasified gasoline burns like natural gas, with all the attendant benefits of power increase, fuel use reduction, and attendant carbon reduction. Current engine designs were and are pitifully incapable of benefiting from gasoline when gasified. They and their pollution controls, ditto minuscule power output, are not what America, the world, all the frogs and fishes are what that most infamous and cagey of creatures, man, needs or wants. Hence the creation of a new entity, Pharaoh's Chariots, Limited Liability Corporation, pending, to manage the production, testing, and licensing of our new engine for the internal combustion of gasified gasoline. We're looking at 800% increases in fuel economy and a similar decrease in CO2, carbon. In conclusion, the reason we contacted you way back in 1992 was with our understanding that you were the go-to Federal Trade Commission attorney whose job it was to go after false claiming high mile per gallon devices for automobiles. Were we right then? And if we still are, good. If not, could you please update our FTC IQ? Sincerely, George Lee Harris Jr., 9/9/2011, President, Founder, CEO, and Chairman of the Board for ERF, standing for the Energy Research Foundation, and also the founder of Pharaoh's Chariots. What do you think of that Air Force hymn? Isn't that nice? Have a good day, and thank you. Well, Joyce and Alex Jones, or whoever's going to see this on the website, this was one of the letters we were waiting to get a response from, and it came back as a return to sender. I can't imagine. We sent back in 1992 to William L. Haynes. We have spoken on the phone to the secretary for that Federal Trade Commission section, who in fact told us that William L. Haynes is still an attorney there. So from 1992 to present, which is 2011, that's, may as well say 20 years. He's probably been there a little longer. We don't know. But we're going to send again, same letter, to the address, including the room number and the floor number. And now proceeds the second disc, which may in fact be more than one. There might be a series of them. We quite don't know. But with 47 years, our 47th year since the Eureka moment, the Eureka thing, where does Eureka? People credit it to Archimedes. And the thing with Eureka was a word that was said because a test was being made by Archimedes to test the purity of gold. And that was in fact the thing, was when he had this method to test the purity of gold, not just the metal was yellow, but the purity that it had. That was when he said Eureka. So this is how important gold is, you know. And today on Alex Jones' show, Ted Anderson was saying how important it is now to be buying this stuff. He said the sales are up 10 times. So is that 100% or 1,000? That'd be 1,000%. I would read it as 100% times 10. Because if it went up 1%, you know, if it doubled, that would be 200%, you know. So there it is. People, look at what's happening. It's all a joke, and we're not a joke. And sincerely, what kind of money are we looking for? We're actually looking for around $250,000 to do this engine program. We need to buy an engine dynamometer, and the least expensive one I've found, and we don't need to be reading lambda and all of that for exhaust gas temperatures at each one of 8 exhaust ports. But we do just need to know the torque and the output of the motor just to find a maximum output. And although we could easily spend $15,000 to $22,000 plus another $30,000, and this would be $50,000 just on test equipment, all we want to do is see the power output by our engine design changes that we can incorporate into an engine and make it modern to burn gasified gasoline. We just need to measure the power. So we're at about the $8,000 level just for, you know, a cheapo engine dynamometer. It'll be brand new. It'll have to be bolted in the floor out here. We'll have to set up a radiator and hook up the engine and bolt it up, an ignition and battery and gas tank and all that stuff to have it run. But we'll put that on video, as we said in the previous disc, that it'll be right here. And you can see this. And this will end up on YouTube, you know, as far as the engine actually running. And this might be some fun for some other engineers. And we can touch on quite a bit of the engineering that goes into this. But the gift is the vaporizing, the true gasification of gasoline, that system. We'll show that to you in a block diagram and where we're headed. And we'll be sure and have some other stuff in here about Teresa, that you can see how she has lived all of her life since birth with these physical deformities and unnice things. And she is not going to be 51 on the 2nd of October, but on the 3rd. And for her birthday, her husband is taking her to Texas for a medical appointment he has for a hole in his ass next to the hole in his ass. But he had a hole in his right buttocks that you could clearly see up into and identify the leg bone, the femur, and the ball socket coming up into the hip. You could see that looking into his butt. And I have never seen that on a human being. So when you see these people, and what's with this lady wanting 25 grand for tooth work, she isn't asking for much, you know. Her chair needs maintenance. She can get that done or wheel this stuff and do it. But can somebody help her with her teeth? There's somebody out there with deep pockets. Kick her down, you know. And if it seems like too much money, you'll be able to contact David Sanchez, the dentist, that has put forward this stuff. We'll have the photographs out of the medical file that he took. And I don't know how he did it, man. He must have had a camera like a cube of sugar, because there's pictures from inside her mouth showing her teeth, her bite, her gums. And currently she has an abscess, and we're going to see what we can do about getting that taken care of. But it will be at least a 100-mile drive, one way, and wait for an appointment, and maybe still they won't pay for it because she has not found a service provider to use her Medicare or Medicaid. And it's always been there, but now as the services erode, there we go. We live in a town of about 5,000 people, not counting the chickens. And most of these people are hardcore drug addicts. You know, they're using syringes, they're doing a street meth, and some of them are on heroin. And, you know, thanks to the Marines, they got good fresh heroin coming out of Pakistan or Afghanistan. Isn't that great? But that's not news. But let's stick to the program, and we'll begin discussing the rest of this. But when the second disc gets mailed out, we will send out this, I guess we might send this copy of the letter. Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll send it with the second disc. The first disc is just about in the mail, so we might send this with the first disc. I don't know. But that is the letter to William L. Haynes. Thank you very much, and we'll properly address the next one. And please have a great day. It's a wonderful Wednesday. It's the 28th of September, and we're looking forward to really kicking this thing in the fanny, because essentially, seeing as we got back this letter from William L. Haynes' office, and the other one went to the president. The president, in his envelope, got the William L. Haynes letter and the letter to Obama. So essentially, we have a partial return, and we may be firing the website up before the 12th. But we need to give them their 30 days, and being a man of my word, we're going to go forward. Thanks again, and whatever you're doing to promote world peace, not that Sears peace, but the real lasting stuff, realize that you're not going to get it done with being a prepper, a prepared person. And we'll get more into that later, but let's close this up and have another chapter on our second disc. Good morning. So where were you on the day when they shot JFK? I think I was in the 3rd or 4th grade. 1963. And I was, let's see, I was born in 54, so not quite 10 years old. And grade school, I was a lunch monitor, which meant I was in charge of kids that were 1 and 2 years old, and eat your apple and throw your trash, and don't pull their pigtails. And we'd heard everything, man. The machine guns, there was one guy, and then machine guns and all. And since that time, a lot has come to light. E. Howard Hunt's deathbed testimony and a whole lot of stuff. And if you watch the film, I don't care who jerks where, the top of the guy's head gets blown off and goes on the trunk, and his old lady goes back to get it. And what I don't get, though, is the first shot. Man, if I'd have been a Secret Service dude and I heard a firecracker or a backfire, or if I was driving a car, it would have been zigzagging like crazy. The whole thing was choreographed. But there's another guy in history that had the same thing, sitting dead still, was Mr. Abraham Lincoln. And what both of them have done was to Abraham Lincoln had, it was the thing with the Civil War and the Federal Reserve. And I guess the to do with some presidential order 11,000, an executive order 11,000, maybe 11,001, was to terminate the Federal Reserve. So that's why they're both gone. You want to know who's at fault? Look at the tomb, the unknown tombs. Or should I say, Kennedy is buried near the tomb of the unknown soldier, but he got a flame burning. And that's a good sign of the Illuminati. They're on top. You know, there they are. Yeah, look who's under us. But where were you? And my dad closed the office down early. You know, you're young in grade school. I think you get home about 2:15. Definitely not 3:30. You know, you're not in the 5th or 6th grade. And a friend of mine would go out front to the little trailer for religious release, and they'd play the organ and maybe have donuts or something. But that stuff stopped not too much after that. So he says, let's go buy dinner in Newport Beach, not too far from where he and Mom are enjoying her condo with John Wayne. So we weren't going to, you know, it was early enough in the evening, and it was November. It was getting dark fast, so we didn't stop past the Rolls-Royce dealer. Nobody buys a Mercedes. That's a German taxi cab, for God's sakes. That's what they do with them in Germany. It's a Chevy, you know. And we went to the Crab Cooker, Newport Beach, California, across the street from Al Forget Hardware. And or the carved door by Rubio. He hadn't done the door yet, but he'd go in there and play piano and eat lots of fish. So it was somber. Oh man, it was somber. And Pop says, well, let's go for a little walk. He still had his alligator shoes on, his suit pants, long sleeve shirt, the jacket's on the back seat, necktie was undone a little bit, still on, I think. And he might have taken it off. And so we're walking down by the beach, and here's the tide's coming. And it was one of those tide cycles where it was really high. And the front porch of his house it's all ready to fall into the ocean. I mean, the water was going under the house. He's going to lose his house. And obviously the houses behind him and on either side, but he was, of all of the line of houses there on the beach, he was like the first one to hit the waterfront, you know, so the water's hitting him first. Highest nail a hammer beats it. So I started shoveling sandbags, and I'm shoveling sandbags, and I didn't notice I was shoveling the sandbag, and there's my dad holding the bag with his one good hand. Well, one good hand. He had polio, and his right arm got trashed, and his left hand, he had a paralyzed thumb from airplane braces. I guess they had him out like this, part of the early treatments. And he's holding the sandbag. He said, come on, man, shovel some sand in there. And I look up, and it's my dad. We're shoveling sandbags. So that's what we were doing. Saving this guy's house, and they started bagging the house. You know, they bagged it and bagged it and bagged it, and there's a bunch of people showed up, and there's my dad standing in the ocean with his alligator shoes on. So that's the family I came from, and that's what I remember about Kennedy's death, saving somebody's home. I don't know what you were doing, but we'll see if we can't help you save a few bucks and go forward with this fuel-saving thing. And our next little entry will be a really interesting patent. We talk about the patent office being trash. And this patent came, when did the patent come, Sean?
92, I believe.
Well, in the 90s anyway, but we were made aware of this patent recently. Came out about the time of the shrimp on the treadmill and the Jello or pudding wrestling girls at the South Pole, those multi-million-dollar projects. But this is the patented stick, and we'll have that for you here next. So be sure and enjoy, and have a good day, and thank you. And oh yes, be sure to say your prayers. Thank Yahweh, Arishi. Eat your broccoli sprouts if you really want to get rid of, have an opportunity to, you know, the enzymes and whatever there that stop cancer in its tracks. And let's see, what else? Sweet dreams. This is a correction. In a previous video, I said a couple of things weren't true, and we need to have them correct. I wasn't a lunch monitor for 1- and 2-year-olds, but 1st and 2nd graders. And the statement about the executive order of 11,000 or 11,001 was specifically from the pen of Mr. John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And that was his order to, I believe it, abolish the Federal Reserve. But before we go on to the stick, the patented stick, I thought it would be really important to get something into the forward of this. And it's really important with you, Joyce, about the truth. And where my father is buried is a really interesting headstone. And what it says on it is really amazing. It doesn't say beloved and father and husband and all of that. But this headstone we're going to duplicate here in cardboard to give you some idea of the size and all of that and what it appears like. But it was brass and say about 4 inches thick. And it was etched metal. And the raised letters and any pictures on it look like gold. Like if you picked up a brown leather-bound law book with gold lettering on it, that's what you saw. So when you go over to Pacific View Memorial Park and you find the four Harrises, my father and his wife, my mother, and my father's brother Jackson, Dwight, and Berdine, the four Harrises, those two guys and their wives, you'll see this headstone. And that's what you see when you go there. And it has the man's name. And you need to be over here to avoid a shadow. And I'll be out of your way because I'll be over here with you. And it has his name. In the middle of this thing, it's a really lousy representation. But the thing's this big. And there's a torch. And this is flames. And a pan balance, like you will see held in the hand of Lady Justice, the lady that's blindfolded. And in the other hand, she's holding a sword, but she's holding a pan balance. And that's what this represents. But then this statement is on there. Truth is justice in action. And it has his birth date and his death date. I don't know where those were located, but that's across the bottom of it. And I think that is really a much more beneficial thing to leave people with. If you went there to see gravestones and see neat stuff that's on them, and the artwork is amazing. I mean, it's carved in the metal, and it's just beautiful. But it's backwards. The places that are dark would be gold, and the places that are light would be dark. But truth is justice in action. And that's been a real good thing. I used to take people, I'd say, well, if we're going to do this contract, I need to go see my attorney. And so we pull up at this cemetery. That's what, what's the name of that thing? Pacific View Memorial Park, yeah. And it's in Newport Beach. John Wayne's buried there. He doesn't get a marker, or people would steal it. And so we go walking out there, and I'd say, I need to talk to my attorney. And this guy, we walk over, and we're standing there, and this thing's on the ground. It's not up in the air as it is here. And I says, there's my attorney. And he looks at the sentence. He goes, that says truth is justice in action. I says, yeah. He says, oh, we can't do business. So even when this guy was dead, he did me a great favor, at least once. But we will follow this with the story about the patented stick. Your U.S. Patent Office, and I think there might even be international patents. A man has patented a stick, and will present his patent documents and all of that. But that is such a falsehood and a bunch of crap. We really had to stop here. So the guy that stands with his alligator shoes in the beach, in the water, and helping fill sandbags and protect another man's home, he leaves us with this. And I don't know whose quote it is, but Mom had it put on his marker, and that's that. And again, sweet dreams.
Yes, the date was December 2nd, 1941, a date that will live on in infamy.
I mean December 2nd, 1999, when a gentleman, Ross Eugene Long III, obtained U.S. patent number 6,360,693 for a animal toy known as a stick. Yes, the man has patented a stick. Isn't your patent office effective? And you will find this if you Google patent on a stick. We're going to follow this little blurb up with the pictures and the patent and all that stuff in diagrams and photocopied documents and whatever. And there you are. And the reason we're submitting this is this is what your patent office allows as technology. So no wonder when I was advised by the attorney whose death marker is at, what do we call that place again? What is the name of that cemetery?
Pacific View Memorial Park.
Pacific View Memorial Park. Yeah, that guy's marker when he was still alive. He called a friend of his at the U.S. Patent Office. And these guys went to law school together somewhere around 1944 to 1947. And they sat across from each other and said, shake hands with the guy next to you. He won't be here next semester. Well, they kept making it through. And Dad went on to private practice. And his friend went to work for the U.S. Patent Office and became the Chief Secretary of Patent. And in 1973, we found out, hey, if this thing has two moving parts, you really don't want to get a patent on it. Don't. In fact, the advice was do not patent. Wow. So apparently they really can't protect anything that's innovative, and they can't, couldn't keep big business out of it even then. Probably if you went back 30 years, you couldn't. So when all these people say they have met a guy that gets 100 miles to a gallon with some kind of carburetor fuel system or whatever, there's only so much energy in a gallon of gas. And the finest we've been able to meter fuel was 7 ounces for 21 minutes. So an ounce of gasoline, we run at about an ounce a minute is as fine as we can run. And your average V8 runs at 8 ounces a minute. And the average 6-cylinder, V6 or inline 6, runs at about 6 ounces a minute. And the average 4-cylinder at 4 ounces a minute. So we're at least a 400% improvement. Well, if we run this on, they all take about an ounce a minute. The 4-cylinder doesn't really take less than a V8. The V8's more efficient. And so we run the 8 ounce a minute V8 on 1 ounce a minute of gasoline. Now we're looking to modify the engine. And maybe we can double or triple those results. So on with the patented stick data. And then we'll have a little information for you on the reality of heaven. Angels. Well, as promised, we're going to talk about angels. And if you pick up a decent Bible dictionary, angel means messenger. I think there's a lot more to it than that. Messenger of what, from where, with what authority. But this is not the first. The telling of this is certainly not the first opportunity I've had to speak with angels, or that angels had messages for me that either saved a life or did whatever it was supposed to do, prevented my death, and on and on. But this is about my father's angel, a man named Tommy. And let's say 6 months before I met this man, Tommy, my father had been receiving chemotherapy and all of that stuff, maybe 6 months before that, so maybe a year before. But he had been in a state of like a remission or something, or waiting to see the results of these treatments. And it had been about 6 months. And I was sitting at home with my wife, Dana, my second wife, and my first child with her, my second child, a daughter, Hillary. Hillary's a year old. And I'd come home, and it was somewhere between 1:15 and 3 o'clock in the morning. And I had been rebuilding an automatic transmission, and it was problematic. So the pan was on and off the trans, and the floor was covered with automatic trans fluid. And that's how I got my nickname, the human filter, because I'd just be dripping with automatic trans fluid. Yeah, all his hair and beard and my clothes just soaked with red, liquidy, oily crap. And all of a sudden I get this, go see your dad thing. I'm like, well, where is he? Do you know where he is? Okay, so I knew what hospital and everything, because I got told I knew where he was, so I guess he'd gone back. There's a little picture in my mind. Okay. So, honey, we got to go see my dad. She says, look at the time. What do we do about the baby? I said, let's go. So I had go. So we go. So in the city of Anaheim, California, Anaheim Memorial Hospital. We go there, and the door's shut. And she's carrying the baby, and I hadn't changed my clothes or nothing. I just went. I think I might have used one of her good towels and slicked off some of the oil, and in work clothes and all. And here's this cop, a hospital cop in a cop uniform behind the double glass doors. The ones you go inside, and when you're there, you got a metal bar that you push. And this guy's standing there, he goes, and he's pointing to his watch, and he can't come in, visiting over, Well, this guy comes up from behind him wearing a white shirt and white pants and white shoes and throws him out of the way. Just throws him out of the way. Pushes on the bar and says, "Hi, you're the son. I'm your dad's nurse. I'm Tommy." I go, "Hi. How did he know?" I never met him before. Right then was when I met Tommy. He says, "Your dad's not going to make it." I go, "I figure he's going to be terminal." No. He's not going to make it into heaven. And I'm like, "Okay, what do I do?" He says, "Well, he doesn't, what's the problem? What do I do?" And he says, he doesn't understand the gospel thing. He doesn't understand the message. He doesn't know it. And I says, "Well, somebody tell him." He says, "No, you're going to tell him." I'm like, "Okay." He says, "But you got to be careful when you talk to him. He's on morphine." "Oh, yeah." He says, "Okay." So they shoot him up with morphine. And about 20 minutes to a half hour later, he'll be out of pain, and he won't have euphoria, but you will have him for like 10, 20 minutes. And then he'll be in a state of euphoria, maybe he'll go to sleep. That's when you talk to him. And I'm like, "Okay. You want to go see him now?" He says, "No. Come back tomorrow." I go, "Okay." So I leave. I don't look around to see the cop. The cop doesn't slug this guy. Nobody gets arrested. Nothing happens. We leave. And it may have been that we went to see my dad. I don't think so. I was too filthy. I don't think I entered the hospital. It was just Tommy had the message for me. That's how, guys, knows who I am. So the next day I go in the hospital. There's no big deal. I go see my dad and wait for the shot. And just like Tommy said, they gave him the shot the hose up. He had an IV in him, maybe in the back of his one of his hands. And I began to tell him and about the gospel for real. Never had that conversation with my dad. When we were younger, we'd sit around outside in the patio, my dad and one of his friends, we'd talk about religion and all that. And this one guy was a Buddhist and doing his out-of-body experiences. And talked about when he'd leave his body, there was a fine silver thread. Well, amazingly, as you study through the Bible, you will read about a little silver thread. That apparently if that thing breaks, whatever source it had, and that's a connecting thing. It's a real deep understanding of the function in life in real time, the physics and matter transfers and all of that stuff, and the energy involved sustaining a living life while the spirit is separate from the being. And another day or two went by, and I get cornered, straight cornered in a hallway. I was surrounded by doctors and other people, and this one lady doctor walks up to me. She's got a stethoscope on, a long white jacket, her little doctor card, MD, blah, blah, blah. And he said, they're all like, "We understand you've met Tommy." I says, "Yeah." I says, they said, "Do you know Tommy?" And I says, "I never met him. I met him a few nights ago." "We understand all of that." This is, "We wanted to let you know that Tommy, there's nobody here that's a male nurse at that time of day or at any other time of day who receives a check here and who is paid is on staff. There's no such person here named Tommy." I said, "Well, it was pretty exciting the night I was there. That's what we understand. But Tommy shows up when somebody's going to die. And that's the only time he shows up. But you don't know him." I says, I do now." They go, "Where do you think he came from?" I says, "Well, all I know is I saw him come from inside the hospital and walk up to the door and toss the cop aside like he was a leaf, and that was that. And he pushed the doors open. He said, 'You're the son. And how do you know your dad was in here, and how do you know you were the kid?' I said, 'I don't know. I just accepted it and dealt with it, and I'm dealing with it now. I'm telling my dad the gospel message like I was told to do.'" And this is not the first conversation I've had with an angel. Neither does this tell the whole story. But I acknowledge that in the scriptures it said the source of witty invention is heaven itself. And the maker of heaven and earth is Yahweh the Father. And we'll have some other little tales of wonderment beyond this. I remember when I was very young, I went with a neighbor family. It was Christmas holiday. I was too young to be in school. I might have been in kindergarten, maybe not quite yet. And my sister, my only sibling, we went to their church with them. Didn't bother my parents. You know, the neighbors are okay. They've lived next to them for years and know who they are. And we get to this church, and they're handing out, you know, little crutch figures. And I got handed a little baby of the Savior, you know. Savior is a baby in a little manger with hay and stuff. Was put in my hand by this man. And my sister got handed a wise man, the pretty tall guy, dark-skinned guy with a blue turban and a blue long jacket on, blue coat to his ankles. And my sister's trying to swap me for this thing, and I still had a hold of it. She was like trying to grab it out of my hand. And I could see communication between a couple of the men there, and they just shoved us apart. And the guy just closed my hand and said, "No, she has hers. This is for you." And that's the way my life has been ever since. So we're going to have a few more of these little interesting stories of reality. And there's no way around it. I mean, there's other things that have happened that with material things, things disappearing, things showing up. And some of it's been, you know, it's obviously spiritual stuff that's happening. But, you know, the source of our witty invention for these projects, anybody wants to come against us, they're just a fool. And you want to get destroyed, you know, try messing with the greatest power in the universe. I would think that wouldn't be the sun or some greater sized star or some planet that's coming or some comet or whatever. But I do believe there's an utter and complete misunderstanding of man's purpose on the earth. And Joyce, this is how you fix it. We're going to try and fix this. And we're going to tell you about heavenly things and earthly things. And we hope we've told you enough of both by this point in time that our credibility and the sobriety of our communication and appearance is such that we would have efficacy, that we in fact would be found to have veracity in our words. So let me see one other fun thing. Oh yeah, one Christmas. I'm sitting outside Christmas Day, and as rich kids will do, they want to one-up each other. So my sister and I, we're sitting on the swing set, and we're swinging back and forth. She says, "I got 26 gifts. How many did you get?" Some kid's got a bicycle and a pair of shoes. We're styling. I mean, and this is beyond little knickknacks and crap in your stocking. I mean, this is, you know, blah, blah. And she proceeds to tell me that there's no Santa Claus. I was 11 years old. She was 13. So she's going to be the big girl. Well, little did I... it was time she found out there was no Easter Bunny. And I'm the one that got the butt whipping. There's no Easter Bunny. Wah! And that's just part of the fun of the family I live in. Sweet dreams again. Be sure to eat your broccoli. And Yahweh is the name of the Most High God. I don't know about Yahweh. Maybe more like Yahweh. It's a double U, so ooh-ah, ooh-wah, you know. But we'll have another one for you. It will help you understand how I believe that is precise. It's closer than God, I'll give you that. And God is G-A-D. In English spelled G-A-W-D, but it's one of the 12 tribes of Israel. And that name of that 12th tribe, pronounced God, translates as good luck. So when you say God bless you or good luck, you're saying the same thing. And when we say Lord, we're saying Baal. Wrong. You know, so I don't know about the whole Yahweh, the Buddha thing, to this thing, to that thing. Although Buddha said he was not God, the creator. Man said that about him. But stop saying Lord. You know, let's all start on the same page. Let's quit saying Baal. Well, I want to say Lord. Well, it's wrong. That's saying stop signs are green. Have a good night. I was just listening to Shortwave as a repeat broadcast of Alex Jones. And Alex had a guy call in and start rapping him off on the scriptures and was saying Lord every other phrase and said Jesus. Zeus, son of Zeus. I'm praying to Zeus or his kid. Baal. But Alex rapped him off, man. Alex rapped him off hard about there is no rapture and there isn't any. And he says, haven't you read the book? It looks like we're going through this. And the Antichrist would war with the saints and win and wear them out. Not all of them. That's how we see where we fit in. But the purpose for this is the next little entry we're going to make is about the issue that there is no such thing of New World Order. There is not. And there's more research and stuff I need to do. I could make this explanation real simple. But the issue of the Rosetta Stone, across the bottom of the pyramid on the back of a dollar bill are some Roman numerals. And if you do the math, it says 1776. Pyramids are older than 1,776 years. And, oh, that's when America was founded. Oh, I see. So we have Hancock and George Washington and Thomas. They're all Masons. So is that $100 bill guy who never was a president. But we'll get on with that tomorrow. But just two last things. One, as the president of the Energy Research Foundation, I have never signed and filed and whatever a compensation plan for myself or for Mr. Sean Wayne Wright, who's our vice president. We receive nothing. Maybe I should file a paper and say we are compensated nothing. Zero. So we receive nothing. In fact, we put money in this to run it. So we're looking for your dough. You want to participate? Fine. You know, we've done part A. Ultra green gasoline, the gasification of gasoline. And that was 47 years ago that began. July of this year began the 47th year. But one last thing, it's kind of a fun thing about my dad. He had a fun saying, like my mother's father's saying of original equipment parts are best. Ask the man with the wooden leg. That's pretty funny. My father said this, don't be afraid of the devil. He's just like Santa Claus. He's your old man. And I know different. I hope you do too. Well, stick with us. We're not on the air. We might get there. And if we get there, it'll be because you helped. Somebody opened the door for us, thought what we were doing was right. Because I don't think everybody that's spirit-filled is only planting a garden or only healing a wound. Or somebody's making, what do they call those things? Where you've got two animals in it and they're tied together. A yoke. Somebody's whittling wood. And so we're whittling metal and we're whittling aluminum. And a very sophisticated means in dealing with complex chemical equations and physical responses to matter. In movement. This is dynamic. This stuff isn't sitting still. It isn't like a bunch of gunpowder in a pile and light, click, bang, boom, you know. It's a repeated, sequential series of events that have to all happen on time. And it's not that hard to figure out. It's been 47 years doing something. You can figure it out. And let's see. What else is really important? Oh, yeah, the Rosetta Stone. Well, on the Rosetta Stone, not the language training program, speak Russian in 2 days or whatever. It was a stone that was found, and we'll get the history on it tomorrow and bring you up to date as best we can find in Encyclopedia Britannica or online or whatever. But on this stone, the Age of Enlightenment stone, were 3 languages. One of them was Greek, pretty close to what we read today, if you can read Greek. It's all Greek to me. And Egyptian hieroglyphics, and I believe Sanskrit, or one of the earlier languages. Babylonian people probably understood Sanskrit. And here came the interpretation, but you're talking to people like Aleister Crowley and all of that crowd. It's ancient mysticism. It's witchcraft. It's away from the creator of the universe and is bound up in the Kabbalah and all of that understanding. All of Satan's teachings. Not that that's bad, but if he's your guy, he's already a loser. Have a great day, and again, say your prayers and eat your broccoli sprouts. Thank you. Today is Sunday, the 2nd of October, and yesterday we tried to do some stuff with our video equipment that we have, and we kind of found the limits of it. Tried to take a picture and put some sound underneath it, and that was interfering with our other stuff. And then we recorded a video outdoors that the wind was blowing all over, and it's really hard to have, but I think we'll leave that there and we'll see what we can do. But we're going to try and put some video along with that picture, and maybe we can overlap the pictures or something like that. The picture I speak of is the Great Seal of the United States. Isn't it funny that that's not a part of the documents of the Constitution of the United States of America? What is that thing? But plainly, the age of the pyramid is easily before the date across the bottom, which was 1776. I believe that has a whole lot to do with the Grand Lodge of the Masons in France, and Adam Weishaupt, and the Age of Enlightenment, and the Rosetta Stone, and all of that's all hooked together. And we'll explain a lot of that, but we're going to see if we can't put some of this involving that little stone, and if we can kind of inlap and overlap this stuff, we'll let that go through. But I want to make a correction to an F-22 presentation we made earlier. There's a statement that made these planes immediately after takeoff, within 60 seconds, the F-20 is at 60,000 feet, and that the F-20 is at 80,000. I should have said F-22. I didn't. And the thing taxied into the hangar at 175. Most of these hangars, these things were pulled up in the early days, were a straight shot off the runway. They didn't have to make a turn or a turn or a turn. They were just right lined up with the runway. They just pulled them right in the hangar. And where these were located, they might have been at Edwards, some Air Force base somewhere. Probably in California. Nellis. A lot of things going on with war games and everything else. But they taxied them in really hot. And probably 175 was probably a top speed for taxiing in a straight line. And then they brought them right in and shut them down. Oh, and as far as the thing of the statement of hangovers and the oxygen, I got shown at an early age that by an older airman that, yeah, you can climb up on the cockpit hanging on the service ladder and hit the oxygen at 100%, and you would be instantly sober for a real short period of time. I mean, as long as you're sucking on the oxygen, you were sober. And as soon as you quit, man, you were tanked, and you're hanging, wrap your arm around the ladder real good, because the one that's holding the hose is probably going to drop the hose or drop you on the runway. And the silliness of young airmen. I wasn't quite 20, so that's how that goes, the beginning of things. But we're going to give a little information here on that Great Seal, and we'll see if we can't overlap it. So this is all about the Great Seal that you see, and the little pyramid and the eyeball and all that. The language across the top, for lack of pronunciation, we're going to just right now say Enoch-Coptis. The second word, Coptis, is the name of the pharaoh that built the pyramid. It was built for him. Maybe he was the one in rule when it was being constructed. And it was either built to honor him or during his reign. And it's more than just a word. It has other meanings. It's like my name is George, but there's two meanings of George. You have man of the world or farmer. So what's with that Coptis thing? And across the bottom you have a word, novus. Well, if you go back to 1776 and read Latin, Latin's a funny language. It's based on the age and the country from where this Latin was coming from, what it means at the time. And the Egyptians did not speak Latin, so that's pretty interesting. So seeing as they had no written language with letters as we would shape them, maybe they did it higher up in the scribes within our culture, I don't know. But we have the word novus. Well, if you go back to the age of that pyramid, novus does not mean new. It means to be recreated or to be revived. So it's a revival. Novus means revival. And then you go around there and you have ordo and seclorum. Seclorum is two words. First part of that word, sec, S-E-C, that stands alone. That means two. So nowhere in the top does it say what Mr. Bill Clinton said, God approves of our undertaking. No, it doesn't say that, Enoch-Coptis. That's straight crap. We've been lied to by all these globalists, Rhodes Scholar people, manipulators, the so self-appointed elite. I've been appointed by my Heavenly Father. I don't need an appointment by some man or to be knighted by some doofus-ass king. I'm real sorry. And the kingdom I serve is not of this world. But while I'm here and passing through just as a straight-up vagabond, I hope you all have a nice day. And I eat with my knife and fork. I put my napkin in my lap and I wipe my ass. You have a nice day. Happy Sabbath to you. It is Saturday, October 1st, and normally we'd be taking a break and trying not to do our own thing on this day, but I don't know. Satan attacked me me yesterday or something, I don't know. I was a miserable soul. The previous sound on the previous little piece of video is not quite up to our standard, but it lets you know that we realize our shortcomings. We could just do an interpretation on the language and that'd be simple. But the reason for the interpretation and the basis of it is very, very important. Have you got a pause button on that? Give it a hit. There's two concepts of the power structures that are running on the earth in our time. One is of the Father Yahweh. Was, is, shall be. The other is stated as was not, is. So if this in fact is a revival, it hasn't been for a little while. It's coming again. It's to be reinstated, reinstituted. So here it is. It's about to happen again. So it's the battle is on. It's not your government. It is a spiritual battle. Dr. Stan Monteith, he seems to have a really good grasp of this. And that's maybe he doesn't have the grasp we do. But hopefully this will make it a little plainer to everybody. But it looks as though it's taking off. You know, the GMO foods and the bastardization of chemical flavors and the food dyes and the cancer everything. And 25, 30 years ago, any girl I knew that was using deodorant tampons had cervical cancer. It had nothing to do with the humano-papilloma virus. What a bunch of crap. And if you get a breast exam with radiation, probably you're going to have cancer. I mean, the whole thing is being done. At first, I thought it was for my government work. I decided to side with the girls rather than the boys. Because if you have your choice of homosexuals, it's much better off being with the women than the gay men. Because the gay men just want to sodomize you. Whereas the lesbian women, at least some of them have children, and there's a little bit more of an understanding there. But that's why the billions go into AIDS research and nothing to booby research. Because the men and the women are trying to kill each other. That's just the devil working. Don't let it amaze you. So the thing with me hanging out with the ladies is at least, and then it wasn't long after, here came the predator females, worse than two men on a stick. I mean, oh my gosh. The sheep and the goats. The book is a book of divergence. It's not a book of assemblage, it's a book of separations. It's real easy. The sheep and the goats. And then we get to a separation of sheep and sheep. I recently was demonstrating that for a friend, a Christian believer, a lady in her hair salon. And I says, well, let's pretend we're both sheep. And we're going over to the food trough. And she's there and I'm there and I shove her out of the way. I give her the shoulder. The rough sheep has no play. It will be the simple and the childlike to get in. It will not be the conniving, the scandalous, the planning. Because he will say, I never knew you. You know, we raised the dead in your name and whatever. He said, I never knew you. Because you didn't bother to know him. That's the whole thing. You've got to get with it. Who him? Well, it ain't Zeus or his kid. You know, Jesus is Lord. That's absolutely true. You know, Zeus is Baal. Right on. But Yahweh is Ishi. And I'm over here. You'd better get over here. You better figure out where here is. Fine. As promised, heroes and barbecues. No such thing as a hero. Can't find him. If you save somebody, you've done nothing. If they die while you're trying to save them, you're no hero. And you're not getting invited to the barbecue. And they'll have a memorial service for the person you tried to save, and they might have been this close, man. And you, if you don't pull your hands out of there, you're going to be handless at the end of your arms. I've lost 3. It ain't fun. And you get the parent, you should have saved my boy. And then some of them say, man, I tell you what, you know, a lot of people, you know, they take you aside. They don't want the rest of the family to see them talking to you with an arm around you going, man, I really appreciate it. And you were there and you told me his last words. Yeah. Hard to get that in the newspaper. But I'm the kind of guy that you don't want to invite to a barbecue. I'm no fun. But I'm the guy, if your house is on fire, you want me carrying you the hell out. But if it's a wedding, I'll probably be there anyway. You'll be feeding me and paying me because I'll be in the band. So I get mine. And I plan on having mine in heaven. And I'll be there with you. But there's one more little piece to heroes and barbecues. I call it coffee and bean can and cheeseburger day. We have a mountain over here called Tucumcari Mountain, and I promised everybody when it comes down to the day where they give everybody their last free cheeseburger, because food will be short, I'm going to give mine away. And I'm going to watch all the clowns dive on it and kill each other trying to get it, and I'll be sitting up on a mountain drinking my coffee out of an old bean can, because you'll all kill each other. Some of you won't, but most of you will. For a gold coin or a sovereign gold coin. What's the ones the pilots used to fly with? Yeah, I think it was like a crown or a sovereign. It'll be the money. You'll be throwing your gold and silver in the streets. It will come, the Bible says plainly. The most valuable, the most scarce thing on earth wouldn't be gold or silver or Federal Reserve notes or a bag of beans, but a live, living human being. And why is that one going to be found? Because he'll still be praising the Father, even though there's no fruit on the trees, and no grass in the field, and the cows are lowing, and the vine is bare. And they will not lose their integrity. Hang on. This is like an E.5 ticket. I'm George Lee Harris, Jr. Find out who the maker is. And don't be saying nature, and don't say God. And quit saying Jesus. Look up Jesus in a good dictionary. You will find Zeus. That's who you find, Zeus. There are no J's in Hebrew. It couldn't have been J. Well, yes, it's Jehovah. No. That's a bastardization by the Masoretes. There are no J's in Hebrew. Maybe Yehoshua. It's like Joshua or Job, but Job should be Job and Joshua should be Yehoshua. Oh, my gosh. Wasn't that the guy that helped out Moses? Yeah, but Moses hit the rock with a stick. Twice. Read the book. See you at home one of these days. I might be a little late. I might smell like I came from a fire sale. But then I promised a few people that I'd be in their corner. Well, if you're a boxer and I'm in your corner, I'm probably first on the way down. So you're going to hear some good screaming out of the pit of hell if I'm headed that way, because I ain't going to stay there. But I'm going to keep my boy from hitting the flames, whoever that is. And then I get passed back to the next one. I'm here to help. So I've been told. Just like I rescued my dad, and the angel wouldn't do it. We are the flaming ministers. We are the ones that have to tell. And the story will continue. And the story is ending, because my scripture says, in the one of the Gospels at least, maybe all of them, surely there is an end. This is still Wonderful Sunday. And this is going to go in after that noisy ass outside recorded video. And we had some air buffeting noises on the audio discussing the Great Seal. And this is a test. And you may or may not get to hear this as it is being recorded. This is a little checkout run, so to say. Well, Joyce Riley, I wrote you a letter months ago. I believe it was back in April. And it was when Mr. Obama came out and declared new numbers for CAFE, Corporate Average Fuel Economy. But it was a handwritten letter that's in my handwriting. And I thought I would read that to you. But before we get all off into that, I thought what really was important was to kind of describe what was happening in 1971 to 73. One thing of note, in 1973, there was a device, a process. I was just reaching down on my leg because of a fly. And on some previous videos, I'll be seen over here like scratching my leg. Mosquitoes. So we aren't sitting over here with St. Vitus dance and shooting up heroin and got the itchies or whatever else. This is just, the way life is. And I've had my spine broken more than twice in more than 3 places. I have injuries on the right side of my neck, see like 4 through 6, and on the left side of my neck, maybe 3 through 7, because it was a sideways whiplash, not front to rear. And my vertebra, my thoracic vertebra, 8, 9, and 10 are compression fractured. So on the other side of 8, on the other side of 10, there's some disruption. And I have virtually no disc at L5S1. It's non-existent. And I was getting told way back in 94 or so that I needed $630-something thousand worth of spinal surgery. And so I asked the doctor, I said, well, you get, 10% for referral, right? He didn't say no. I said, I tell you what, you get me half of $63,000 in cash. I want half of your 10% referral, because they get 63 grand, right? I want half, and I will sign the papers, because there's no guarantee I won't die, be worse, or be better off the table, or my wife and kids need something. He never brought the money. I never signed the paperwork. And that car wreck I had, I'm better off now than I was before the wreck. I used to feel rain falling here. Paresthesias, crawling bugs. I'd be sitting in a chair somewhere, and I'd look around. Nobody else has an umbrella, but I'd feel water. It'd be wet and water dripping. I haven't had that in quite a while. So, I got my blessing. Told him to keep the insurance money. Got the letter back from the insurance, from the attorney's secretary for the attorney's office. She says, "Good, keep on with your healing. That's great news." I'm going to go ahead and read this letter to you that I've written to you. And before we do that, we're going to do a few other little things. As we said in 1973, what was going on? Well, a customer I had in 1983, he used to work, I guess, and currently was working for Northrop Electromechanical. And we're having a discussion in a bar. I did some work for him on a Pinto for a son-in-law and a daughter. And he says, "I should have had you do my Mark III Lincoln." I says, "Yeah, Mark II or Mark III, the one that really had the nice vertical grill." And he says, "Well, we've been able to punch a hole in through the earth, punch a hole from the earth through the moon, put a rope through it and tie a knot as far back as 1973. And this guy comes out of the back of this bar and goes, "Loose lips sink ships," and he says something else, and he throws this ID card down. It looks like a military ID. And I didn't touch it, but this buddy of mine, obviously more experienced than me, picks it up and looks at it, and it's got nothing but squiggly lines, like he'd been on a polygraph exam. He goes, says, "George, it's my buddy here, Mr. CIA. And he says, "Well, you guys are talking about really sophisticated stuff." He says, "It's been in the newspaper." He says, "We ain't talking about nothing here that ain't been in the newspaper." And the guy I was with was a stone-cold alcoholic, and he was having his one beer. So I had one tall neck Budweiser with him in honor of my friend Barry Carlisle, a business partner, got killed by the bodyguard. We had a good Union beer, but now the Deutsche, we presume this is going to run pretty good. Well, when I was a kid going to high school, there was the word Maranatha, and they had little butterflies and stickers like, "Maranatha, Jesus is coming." You go to the book of Ruth, and you find a lady named Naomi, and that was the mother-in-law to Ruth and another girl. Naomi had 2 sons. Each one of them married one of these 2 girls. And Naomi changed her name to Mara, meaning bitter. Maranatha, Mara, bitter. Well, bitter, Natha is kind of fun. Nathaniel, God is given to us, or God comes to us. So Maranatha, bitterness comes. And the scriptures you can sit there and read, and the Savior says, "Hey, man, do you think this is going to be a happy day? We're going to be throwing flowers. This will be a day of darkness and foreboding. It will be a day of terror. And it will probably be even something for those that are of his elite to sit there and go, 'Oh, whoa, whoa. Hey, do you see that? Yeah, look, what do you think I'm looking at?'" Oh, and Joyce, you mentioned something about UFOs. I was standing with my wife, Dana, and let me see, my son hadn't been born yet, so let's just stick with like 81 to 83. And we were driving down the interstate, 91, Riverside Freeway, headed from east to west in California, where it crosses California State Highway 57. It runs north and south. And that's just south of Interstate 10. And I'm driving along, I'm looking out the window, hippie bus, driving a Volkswagen bus. We're just a couple of little hippie kids, I guess, when we started off. And I'm looking out the window, and I see this light, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And we pull over and get the heck off the road. And we're looking. And we're standing, I got my arm around the old lady, we get out. And this thing turns from a dot of light into a cross. It's flying at us. And he goes, "God, Jesus, if this is you, take us home." And then the thing is overhead. And it's moving along at just a walk. Man, you can pedal a bicycle faster than this thing. It was easily 2 football fields long, maybe more like 800 feet long. It had no wings. And if you've seen an arrowhead, they're shaped like that, and they kind of come back. This thing had that shape in the front, and then another one about twice the size in back. And it looked like what to have windows on the outside of it. And could this have been a projection? Yeah, it probably could have been. Maybe it wasn't. But it was dead. We're standing there. There's another 20, 30 cars pull off the interstate and off the freeway watching this thing. I'm standing with my arm around here. I go, "What are you looking at?" And she's like, "What do you think I'm looking at?" And, okay, so it wasn't hypnotic. So, we saw one. And then it went, it became a beam of light and just took that. It accelerated, didn't become a beam of light. It got faster and faster and faster and took off and became a dot of light. And, UFOs. Those are fun. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, and, read you your letter, but and back to that Jesus thing. Before you, when you're young, before you know anything, Jesus seems to work real good, and that's what's in the Bible: God, Jesus, Lord, and all that stuff. It seems great because somebody printed the books. But these are Bibles after 1947, after the World Council of Churches, and everything happened in 47. Air Force Blue Book. A lot of businesses that you see around now, they got formed in 47. I think the cash flowed. It was a real interesting history in a period in the United States. They were restoring this and that, restoring or creating new stuff. Here comes money. Let's build the nation back. I guess restore the nation after the war. But I was walking along, probably smoking weed. I was maybe 20, it was PD, pre-Dana. And thinking about seeing a friend of mine and walking down a big, like 6-lane street, 3 on the side, an island down the middle. Maybe it was only 4 lanes. A big street, California. And this guy's got his garage door open. He's running a printing press in there, screen printer. Like you'd silk screen T-shirts. And he's silk screening posters, and it says, "Happy Birthday, Jesus." And he says, "Would you like one?" I said, "Yeah." So I'm standing out there going, "Happy Birthday, Jesus." It was like December 12th or the 18th or something. And some people waved, and some people gave the finger, and some people told me I was I don't know what letters they were thinking about, but F you guy, and all that. So even saying Jesus, you're not real popular. But the Savior gets asked, what will be this, when are you coming, and what will be the sign of your coming? He says, it shall be as in the days of Noah. And I tried to find it earlier in my scripture here. He says, it will be eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage. And just like Jesus, you think you're reading about the wedding feast. Oh, good, we're going to go be with Jesus. If you look it up in a Strong's, even newer Strong's are white covered, which is a scummy Strong's. You need an old red or brown covered one, reddish brown. Or before. Everything's changing. Eating, gluttony, drinking, drunken debauchery, sex. It's an sex orgy with alcohol. So we're going to be gluttons. We're going to have a sex orgy with alcohol. Marrying. The word there is specifically a word in Greek as a man would marry a man, lay with him as he would lay with a woman. So homosexuality by men. God hates that more than lesbians. Because man was made first. And then he went away, right? Well, that woman you gave me led me astray and made me eat that pear or apple or onion or whatever, parsnip. And giving in marriage. What's it mean to give in? 2 guys are arm wrestling. How do you give in? Quit. And that word is specifically a word meaning an Abrahamic covenant. Quit. So there it is. The great verge of the gay homosexuality. They rip the doors off the closets. People that are out here in these suits, they all look pretty, and as soon as you put a suit on, you get $1 million in your pocket. Yeah, right. Well, let's see. Anything else we missed here? My conversion was a really interesting thing. It was pretty fun. We'll have to tell that, but it'll take some telling. So we're going to go check this out and see what it's doing and see how the sound is on it. And Sean will have to remove a word I said, the F word in there, plainly heard. I asked my mom one time, I says, how is it I say these words and they're bad words, but you know how to spell them? Shoot. Joyce, have a really great day. You're going to enjoy the letter. We'll read that to you, and I'll tell you about my conversion, and it'll really help a lot with your understanding. But, yeah, that CIA guy in that bar. The bar is called the Pump Room in Santa Ana, California. It's probably still in the phone book. Can you imagine that, being able to punch a hole through the moon from the earth, and put a rope through it and tie a knot in 1973? And I was doing other stuff while that was happening. Yeah. Live cell chips, not silicon, but live cells, cancer cells, to take the current transfers and everything else. So if we've got computers designing computers, can you imagine a mentality of 50 million cancer cells designing a computer? I don't think they're going to make it serve man other than, like that one Twilight Zone, To Serve Man, where the Kenemites show up, they're these big people, and To Serve Man is a cookbook. Whenever you've seen that one, that'll be in another little story. I got to see my father's death vision when he died. That was pretty fun. Another good tale. I got a bunch of stuff for you. And we're definitely going past disc 1 for our second disc. There will be a few of them. And we might have to break break up some of what we're doing. But we've got some new audio and some new visual stuff. We're trying to get another digital camera to work. It's an old school. It's got a tape running in it. It's got a data chip port, but we don't have a chip in it. And we're trying to get that thing decompounded, decompressed, cream pressed, repressed, digressed, and regressed before we can get it on this video. And we'll process this and see what we get, and then we'll read you your little letter. Good morning, Joyce and family. And I hope you don't mind us being put in front of the whole world. We might do that too. You'll have to write us a letter and tell us, no, don't. I wouldn't tell you anything I couldn't tell my mommy or somebody in a public place. Like leaning over the backyard fence.
Well, how are them rutabagas there, Joycey?
Morning, Captain. I got asked one time when I was in the Air Force, where was my military bearing? And I told the guy, I says, well, I sold my military bearing in nickel and dime bags upon leaving boot camp. I'd been raised around a hierarchy of people that had earned their status, not merely had some token of prestige on their shoulder. And I was proud of saying it didn't take an act of Congress to make me a gentleman. Pause. And the purpose for that pause was to shut the door in our little house. The wind's blowing again. And we think that's the source of the wind buffeting noise on this little computerized, pocket-held video dooter transducer booter mooter. Anyway, this is a little story about I took a leave to Canada. It took a couple weeks. Back in '74, went to Spokane. Went to Canada, but stopped in Washington. Beautiful. Took a little girl with me. Why not? She was redheaded as could be. She worked for the World Health Organization, so the two of us crossed the Canadian border and all that stuff. I took a firearm with me under the dash. And so we went to the World's Fair. The 1973 World's Fair was still at Spokane. I went over to the General Motors exhibit was crap, and the General Electric exhibit was crap, but there was this really neat exhibit from Russia. And you walked in the room, and it was like a big ball, man, big round ball, maybe 60 feet high. And inside this thing is a human torso from the waist up on the floor. So you got the waist at the floor, and the head is way up in the air, and the head's going to be 20 feet tall. And it's got a shoulder and a right arm and a candle. And the thing is cycling going through this display. And it shows the hand, and then the candle lights. And it's all fiberglass. And what they would do was light it, or when they turned the lights off, that part would disappear. You couldn't see it, and then you'd see the part where it was now because it was lit. So they, without moving the arm, but just by lighting, they showed the arm move. So the arm moved, and then the candle lights. And then the hand goes over the flame. And then they show you the pathways in the arm going to a part of the brain. Oh, that's hot. That could hurt. Motor section, move hand. And it moved the hand. And then it cycled again. And it showed you the flame lighting, and the hand went down. And now it doesn't go to the think part anymore. Because there's been learning occur in the brain, it's just boom, boom, motor action. So they're like showing you, So this is all part of this operant conditioning. How can we get people to knee jerk? How can we do this? And so I signed a guest book in the Russian exhibit. Yeah, George Lee Harris Jr., USAF. So the OSI goes to my parents' house. And he said, are you George Harris? My dad goes to the door. You're a little old, aren't you? He said, well, you must want my son. So is your son a communist and all of that, you know? So I call my mom. She goes, oh, your friends, well, my mom called or something. Your friends were here. I go, what do you mean? She goes, the guy with the suit and the briefcases. I go, oh, God, what now? She says, Dad starts telling her, she goes, like father, like son. So Pops, while he was in law school, Mr. Truman's busy dropping the atomic bomb. My dad wrote this paper criticizing the use of the atomic bomb on Japan. So he has the FBI at his parents' house for writing his letter. And I get, like father, like son.
Is your son a communist?
Yeah. Well, that's how much of a security clearance we had. And you think they're paranoid now. I bet Homeland Security, I bet the thing is so compartmentalized, and who knows this and who don't know that and blah, blah. Yeah. Have a good day. Well, hello, Joyce. This is your letter. You'll notice this Joyce letter. She receives a lot of mail from self-serving people. Fix it for me. Well, that's why we sent you some DVDs, because you said, send me a disc. So we're putting this on the disc. 4/7/2011, Yahweh, Thursday. Joyce, letters. She receives a lot of mail. So this is that letter. I'm going to read this to you, and this is going to go to, it's all handwritten. Isn't it pretty? And it says here, Ed and Stephanie, the Loeffner shooting. And we'll talk a little bit about Ed Sheerini here and his hydrogen problem thing, because it is a problem. I mean, it shouldn't work. If you've got an engine that's running, already the proper mixture of gasoline and air, there should be no oxygen left over for the hydrogen to participate with. So what's really happening, it's the failure in the original design that you add hydrogen and it actually helps. You know, what's going on? Because it's 2H2O, because it won't make hydrogen peroxide, that's unstable. Anyway, back to your letter. Greetings, salutations, felicitations, and summum bonum. SUMMUMBONUM, for the greatest good, tally-ho. ERF and Pharaoh's chariots, a solid sure hope, not a flavor of the week, food for your journey on into eternity. Did I say but good solid food? I'll say it, here we go. Not a flavor of the week, but good, solid, whole food for your journey on into eternity. What, us? Yeah, we're gonna make sure you get something to eat on this station. Not a lot of optical visual hype and knee-jerk stimulation, but devout and loving truth. Nothing but the truth, so help us Yahweh. Almost 50 years of results, some already proven, and a close-to-be-had reality that will be the rain and the flood to break your Pavlovian training. A dream, a vision to a young man for these times to be revealed to you all and for you from the only source of witty invention. There's only one means to the only correct end, and surely there is an end. We are in eternity now. It's just our perceptive powers and where we seem to be that helps deter seeing. Look out the window, Marmaduke. Look and see. The horses and llamas, goats, birds, ostrich, emus, and rheas. Oops, we must do a typographical correction. The ostrich, emus, and rheas have moved away, but you can see the sign. And our associates who shall remain in place and in steadfast and settled mind and spirit. How are you doing? Do you have to have the glass into your hand to see how full it is? But we're only men, and the cares of this world are so what? It shall be with words. Let your ear and mind savor their actual simple content, just as your mouth savors tasty meats. Well, that's right out of Scripture. If you read the book, you'd recognize that one. Not the tone of my voice, for we are not horses, llamas, goats, birds, ostrich, emus, birds of prey, chickens, or cattle. Goyim. Beware the useless breathers. The standard of care. Ours is above the standard of care. Ours is above the standard of the world. One of the most respected professions in that world only holds to what we see as shallow and half-stepping at best. That profession being regular medical practice. Their standard, do no harm. The same with the legal profession. Kind of reminiscent of our first disc to you, wasn't it? With the little Ruthie Ann and Charlie Dog. And we were outside and some guy standing there with a coat hanger in front of you saying there's no airplanes. There it is. Summum bonum, do no harm. We, ERF and Pharaoh's chariots, choose summum bonum. SUMMUMBONUM. Such shall the all, for the greatest good, that's what that means, for the greatest good. Such shall the always and consistent presentation of our publication of results be. Ditto, the science plain. No naked emperors here. Our daily bread is not idleness, nor false swearing. We endeavor daily to remain as sincere and honest children, to receive appropriate rebuke and correction, and to never be foolish old kings, to never be or receive correction. Useless breathers. George Lee Harris, Jr., President, Energy Research Foundation, founder of Pharaoh's Chariots. And the last sentence in your letter is, it shall be life. 10 bears. If you've watched The Outlaw Jody Wales with Clint Eastwood, at the very end, there is Clint on a horse speaking to the chief of the Indian nation. And his name is 10 Bears. And he says it shall be life. And if you watch Dances with Wolves, the name 10 Bears is mentioned there. There is a man currently known as 10 Bears. And he's a youngster. He's also White Buffalo. Many things are coming forward. I didn't get much out of the Drudge Report. Oh, this is not your letter, but I'm just going to say this here. There's your letter, Joycey. There's a whole lot more stuff, but at least we've got our housekeeping chores done. I'm going to keep thinking about that thing. Man, April, quite a ways back. You get your fax number, and your stuff number, and your this number, and your that number. So we're going to send you these DVDs. And this second one is about, out of 2 hours worth of video, we're about 1 hour and 30 minutes finished of 2 hours available. So I won't have much more for you, but the discussion of my personal conversion when I asked him to show me a sign. Please have a great day. And summum bonum. A lot better than broccoli sprouts. Well, in our time zone, mountain time, it is like 6 p.m. straight up. I'm fixing to go to the old shortwave. Listen to Pastor Buddy a little bit, but he's going to up and say Lord on me. I just know he is. He's going to say Yahweh, but I guarantee he'll say Jesus or Lord, and I'll have to turn him off. It's gotten to where I can't wade through it. But it's not half as bad as having you listen to these ear-buffeting train wreck sound shockwave recordings we've had here recently. Well, I think we've put our little technician through the ringer, so to say. Maybe more of a T-strainer. He made it through all little holes and reconstituted himself. Just like petrolatum distillates. They don't belong in foods. And rather than try and finish this thing up and be timely and make it fit the disc and la, there's going to be quite a few. We've got to take a field trip to Amarillo, Texas, about 120 miles one way to town over there, and another 20 miles south or so to a museum to see about a 100-year-old electric car. These electric cars are not new. All of this is just crap. The whole thing, everything you see, the whole presentation. Joyce, you know. And I've about had enough of Alex, except that one little, that probably came out good. Yeah, we don't, who knows. But, my God, you got to love Alex and his research. And like he says, he reads so much stuff, and he says scared for his children. I would have Alex's problem, but I had my children ripped out of my arms and my wife hauled off or whatever. And then I got all of them loose, and I pled guilty to crimes that didn't exist, and all this while I was working for Uncle Sam. So I said to my first secretary-treasurer back in 2005, I says, Norma. Her name was Norma Wright. And Norma says, well, you know, maybe God the Father did that to you, so you wouldn't be distracted from doing this work. Because I know if I was Alex, I couldn't do a TV show at night and do the radio and all that stuff. And then not go home. And then when you see them, you wrap your arms around them and just smother them with affection, and you just stand there and cry, and while you're holding them, you're praying for them. Yahweh, take this one. Yahweh, take this one home. And I'm glad I'm not going through that. I'll be going through it for other people's kids. And I've been told I'm going to see a lot of people die. I've been told at a meeting I would probably get a group of people that I could keep, and Satan's a liar. And maybe he was, bound by Yahweh to say these certain words. There's specific deals made to specific believers and prophets and faithful believers and all that stuff that aren't necessarily in the scriptures. But then, hey, there's Enoch. Flaming chariot come down from the sky, and, Yahweh took him home. And Eliah and Elisha, you might say Elijah and Elijah, but it's El-Ishah. It's not Eloi, Eloi. It's Eloi, Eloi, God of mine. We are such idiots when it comes to reading ancient languages. Of course, after they break them up in the since 1947 World Council of Churches Bible, WCC, ABC, CBS, NBC. And that was another thing that happened at the Kennedy election. There was to be a fourth, like ABC, CBS, NBC, there was to be a fourth TV station coming out of L.A., And the Jewish people paid for it. You know, the people that give us Barabbas Jews said that. And I guess it had to do with trade union stuff and everything else. But, well, life's interesting. Anyway, that fourth channel didn't come about. Maybe it's Pope Vision. I haven't seen the Pope 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Of course, I'm not looking. But this Pope says he's not going to leave office by death. He's just going to be the kind of the schmoozy shoehorn guy for the new guy. And Constant Cumby, man, she's like, all right, their dude's almost ready, you know. Student's ready. Here comes the teacher. But, yeah, I say a conversion. I asked for a sign. I didn't know he was real. I don't know if there's enough room to tell that here, but what I would like to tell you is we'll go listen to Pastor Buddy for a while. Maybe we'll finish this in the morning when I'm all nice and fresh and slept on and remembered this stuff. Because 1974 is a little while ago, isn't it? 37 years ago for me. Let's see, 74, 84, 94, 2004 had 7. It's 37 years ago. So it's kind of fun to remember. But that all started off, I was high on cocaine. It was some really good coke. And the reason I bought cocaine was because my government checks from a GI Bill didn't come in so I could go to school. So I could go to school to get a shingle that I already knew how to do something I already knew. And I was having real trouble at school. I had to go to a junior college to get the shingle so I could be a diesel mechanic. Instead of twisting bolts for $10, $12 an hour, test them for $20 an hour, or go to Chanute in Illinois. And I didn't go to Jet Motor School. It was closed, or I'd have had that, since twist bolts for $36 an hour. Well, I had 2 classes, had to have them, a humanities class and a history class. So I took anthropology, the study of man. And there I'm dealing with man existed 50,000 years ago. You know, and that's fighting my Bible. And then for a world history class, I had Asian history. The Chinese have a recorded civilization day for day for day for day, 630,000 years before Christ walked on earth. And I'm like, what? Man, what opiate-stimulated dream was that on? So, I've been getting told I was a general Autonetics. God, is that right? General Automation, I'm sorry. Autonetics is down the street, Ford company. They made missiles. Autonetics, maybe a separate company. Ford Philco, Autonetics. Oh, man. I've even seen like that ball mason jar thing, that ball script in blue on a logo in front of an aerospace place. So they're using all this old family cash from us buying fruit jars for nickel and lids for 3 cents and all that stuff. But there's just so much here. This will be disc after disc after disc. And I hope we're entertaining, and I hope you like them. And we're going to put the website, we spent our money. We spent our money Friday the 30th of September, and we bought some space on the GoDaddy network. And even though I'm real sure that's Yada Dog, essentially yada yada, when Jerry Seinfeld says yada yada, it's sex god, sex god. So you got YDDAD, yada, yada, DOG, dog. God backwards. So I'm pretty sure it's blasphemous, but that's okay. This is just the earth. Pretty interesting. I'm not going to jump off there because I'm an idiot or jump on it because I'm an idiot. I'll be an idiot for the Heavenly Father. I'll be His idiot. Be an anointed idiot. But the money didn't come in. I couldn't keep going to school, so I had to quit school, go to work. And then checks were coming to the house. They finally got them routed to the house. And I was going to school. I was going to 2 schools, riding a bicycle. I'd start a bicycle at my parents' house, ride a mile, chain it up in another place, get on a city bus, go ride 14 miles. And then I'd have to make the reverse trip. Maybe I'd finally get home on the bus and have my dad give me a ride down by his loft, as big as the bike in the trunk of his car. That'd be 5 days a week. I'm sure he was all for that. Me, a grown man. You got to figure out how to get this done. Go buy a car, son. I'm like, yeah, that was the deal we made when I got out of the Air Force. Oh, well. When I get discharged, my leave balance was not available at the time of discharge. So then I don't have to pay you. And I didn't know to go down and get unemployment. I could have had that that day. Duh. My career field went non-critical. 4 days. Well, 4 days before I was getting discharged, somebody knew. But they didn't need electronic warfare anymore. The war was over. They didn't need us. And besides, we helped design the machines that did our jobs. They didn't need the men anymore. It's kind of fun to be on the flight line with some factory rep from Westinghouse Defense Systems or whoever else. And you see this Mexican guy, and he's got his white short sleeve shirt on, and his business slacks and all. And I'm over there in my, military greens, and I'm like, dude, you need to get an ID card. They're going to jack you up. And it's so fun to see him put a guy face first on the ground and shove an M16 in his keister. I've had that done to me. Who are you? I am the enemy. Ha 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 ha. We'd been drunk on a flight line together. Who the hell are you? Yeah, I'm the guy leaving them with 2 swine bottles behind to take off before flight covers. If you're lifting a flight cover on a motor I'm working on, well, I didn't work on a motor. I worked on something else. Electronic warfare. Did you sabotage planes? We were training the enemy, for God's sake. East and West Germany, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Jordan, UAE, Greece, Crete, Turkey. Did I miss anybody? United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia. Are any of those the enemy? Yeah, those are my students. 14 foreign nations. Oh, England and France. Some of those are communist at one time. Isn't that something? Train them. Well, that's how I met my business partner who got executed by the bodyguard. He was making death equipment for Hughes, and I was teaching foreign governments on how to use the new equipment they bought. And I never had more than one. I had 2 stripes twice in my life. Once for a couple days, and once for about an hour. And you'd say, well, you didn't get very far. Well, I had a major on the ground kissing my shoes. You know, the rank of major in the U.S. Air Force. He tried to scare me. I don't scare. I redlined his airplane. He had an answer in the book on the other side of the book. You ever seen the book? They got a book. He kept flagging it. There's something wrong with my airplane. So instead of putting in there, could not duplicate, I wrote operator error, which redlined the plane. And he was going to get to go to ground school. I got to go to ground school. I'll have to go for 1,000 hours. I'm going to lose my pay. I'm going to this and that. And wham. First, he's already ripped my little mosquito wing off. And I'm like, dude, see that Cadillac limousine over there and that BMW motorcycle? Those are mine, cash paid for. Like I need this. I'm here to defend my country. Don't give me any crap. I volunteered. I wasn't drafted. I got scores up the ass and all your ASVABs and whatever. I know how to do this, dude. It ain't new to me. I guess being 19 or 20, you're kind of a smart ass. Sober. We had to piss all the time. I never had to. I was so dirty, dude, from doing all the work. They kept me on a flight line every time an inspection came. So this guy says, what's going on? I said, well, I figured out what you did, dude. He's a backseat driver. An F4 or something with a backseat. Probably an F4. I said, right in the middle of a standby, go to system test. You hit the press to test, and while it's going through the thing, then you hit the button again, huh? And he goes, yeah. And he started up with that, well, I got this because I've been to college. I said, dude, I was carrying college units before I left high school. Blow me, you know. Well, that wasn't nice. Oh, hell, I don't know what I said to him. Yeah, but that's what I said to him, didn't it? Yep. I'm sure he didn't have a Cadillac limousine or a brand new BMW motorcycle. I didn't get that with $352.50 a month. So, he says, so if I quit doing that, you'll sign the book. I said, yeah. He said, well, let's fire this thing up. Dude, let me pull the battery off the thing. So you go over to the panel, pull the, the Coleco's and Zeus fasteners off, and pull the thing out and unscrew the battery, and put it in a turbine start cart. Now we got power. I go, get up in there. He goes, on that ladder? I go, you climbed up in the ladder before. He starts laughing. He goes, you use my ladder? I said, I use your ladder every day. And he just laughed. Now we're friends. He gets back there, puts the system on standby, hits the press to test, and lets it ride through fine. And he reaches outside the window, dude. He almost had to stand up. I don't know how he did it with his feet down below the edge of the cockpit. Grabs the book and hands it to me open. And while he's holding it, I'm signing it. And he just smiled and smiled and smiled. He's like, you're just doing your job. And I said, yes, sir. Because I was tired of coming out here on a bullshit call. I come down off of there. He salutes me, shakes my hand. I got these 3, 4, 5 stripers standing over their heads so far up their ass, they didn't need a plastic window to see out of their gut. And I've got this guy's respect. He says, if you ever need anything, Airman Harris. George, isn't it? I said, yeah. He says, let me know. I never used it. I could have. But I figured we were friends. Now, what I noticed in 1973 when I was still with the Air Force, maybe the end of 74, I'd go out. One day I was going out on a call for 3 fix-its. One was on like row A or row C and one in the hallway somewhere. I had to go find them. They weren't where the locations were. One I couldn't work on because it was up on jacks, period, you know. The thing was complete, but it was up on jacks. Another one in the hangar, I'd go find that one. And the motor was out of it. Can't touch a plane with a motor out of it. Unless you're the guy putting the motor in it. But that wasn't my job. And then something else. And I had figured out I had 2 airplanes in a hangar, one of them had a tail on it. 4? You have to tell me.
14 minutes.
Oh, okay, good. Well, there will not be enough time left in this disc to tell you about when I got my sign and wonder from Yahweh the Father. I didn't know his name at the time. Not yet. I wouldn't see documents with that on it until 1975, my first marriage. That was just the timing of it, not that that was the cause of it. Oh, maybe we can get this done real quick. So that whole day, for a couple of days in a row, people tell me, oh, the Spirit of God's in you, the Spirit of God's in you, the Spirit of God's in you, when I was working at General Automation, an in-house computer builder. And we built our own stuff out of our own parts and sold them. So I was all high on coke. I had this money. I'd never been high on coke before, so I bought some coke. I didn't use a syringe. I just snorted it. I didn't smoke. I just sniffed it. And the mosquitoes are coming, but we've got green alcohol. So I'm laying in bed. I tried to watch W.C. Fields. It was 3 in the morning. I couldn't sleep. And the Bible's... No, the Bible wasn't. Boy, this is a good story. So I'm laying in bed, and I says, God, I says, if you're in my life, give me a sign. I read in the Bible where it says I shouldn't ask for a sign, but I'm going to ask for a sign. And something across the room fell off a shelf and hit the floor. I grabbed the covers like this. Whoa! You know. And I go, I'm going to ask for another sign. And I says, and I'm asking you, I'm high on this cocaine, but here I am seeking you, and you can get me off this cocaine anytime you want. Just tell me. And maybe you ought to get me off mushrooms and weed and everything, but we'll work on it as we go down through it. But I need something to do. What do you want me to do? Give me something to do, because I read where it says, this guy asked the Father, what do you want me to do? And right before I finished asking for that second sign, I noticed a cat in my doorway. It was dark. Dark cat, 3 in the morning. My room wasn't lit. Man, I says, I can't sleep, I can't this, I can't that, I need my second sign. And the Jonah and the fleece, right? One side was wet, one, was wet on the grass around, dry underneath, whatever. Do you know the story about Jonah? I think it was asked that one. Was it Jonah? Let's say it was. But it was the story with the fleece. This is the sign. He asked twice to get 2 signs from the Father. So, okay, I'm riding that scripture. And something fell off the desk next to my bed and hit the floor, and I fell asleep. It's like that. I wake up, and it's now 6 o'clock. Maybe it was 5, somewhere in there. And I go across the room where the thing had fallen off the bed, or the shelf, and it's a Bible I got from my parents when I was 6 years old for Christmas. Now I'm 27, 1974, so I was 20, 21. And it had fallen face down, and I turned it over and soaked the Revelation. It should have fell to the back or to the front, on the front or on the back, closed or dead in the middle. Now this thing fell almost to the end, and it didn't crease the page or nothing. Just so I read it. I read through that thing in like 15 minutes. I'd never done that since or after. And since that time, I never read that quickly. And it says, whoever reads this will get a special blessing. Whoever hears the reading of this, whoever adds to this book, the plagues of this book will be added to him. And next to the bed was a magazine I was looking for. I had 36 issues of this magazine. It was Popular Electronics or Popular Science, something like that. And it was one of 36 issues, and it came out from between the stack and didn't disturb it, open to the right page face up. So, okay, I needed that. I needed information to help somebody else, so he's going to give me whatever I need to get done for somebody else. So it ain't going to be for me that I'm doing any of this stuff. And I remember to deal with the cat in my doorway. Well, the cat's nowhere in the house. I go to the front door, and there's the cat. So somebody told me later when I explained this to them that was Satan. That's how big Satan was trying to come after me or whatever. You're pointing at something? Okay. So the next day I had to go to work, so I got up, I made my bacon and eggs, had a shower, and walked to work. I think somebody gave me a ride. I don't remember. I might have had a car at that time. But I had to go see 4 presidents of sheet metal fabrication companies because I told them all their metal chassis were crap. I already got done doing the Air Force, so this shouldn't be no problem. And this one's bad, and this one's bad, and this one's bad, and these guys. And last, I say the most ritzy-titsy, big suit, diamond stick pin son of a buckster for last, and they all stood there and watched me just grind them up. I says, your sin is worse than all the rest. Your chassis is perfect. You're this and that. The one guy's chassis, okay, you got a picture. And on a blueprint, it's like that. You get the center picture, and then there's that view, and that view, and that view, and that view. What somebody done is done a photo of whoever did their photoing for the blueprint screwed up and laid the circuit card upside down. So when the tracks for the circuit cards come like this, instead of the socket being lined up, it'd be like this or like this, you know. So they welded the back panel in the chassis. I can't fix that quick. They're trying to get a computer out of there, and I'm shutting the place down. The twice I shut that place down for quality control. We can't send crap out. They can't build it online. Would you like to be somebody's mom down there who lives across the street from my mom? Your son's an idiot. He doesn't know how to inspect nothing. He get jumped. I shut the place down twice for lousy parts. That isn't my fault. The manufacturer's doing crap. The shit I'd have done an on-site inspection. You know, hey, give me a run. You got to run a 50 of these things. Well, let's look at one. Okay, your artwork's fine. You're this, you're that, you're this, you're that. So the last guy's thing, you drill a bunch of holes in a piece of sheet metal, and now you got raw metal. It's going to rust. And so what the spec said is you will cadmium plate them. It's like chrome, and then paint it. So when a guy comes along the assembly line, he puts a screw in, got a green ground wire, and it goes in that hole. It's going to be a good ground. It won't rust. I said, well, you painted your chassis and didn't plate them. So they're getting sent back. They're getting sent back to be plated. Yeah. So I tell my buddy Dave Bazzelli, who hooked me up that cocaine, I says, Dave, there's a hole he needs to drill. Send him back again. That guy is a jerk and an idiot and a nothing. I said, they could probably do it on a line, but send him back. I'll give you a bottle of Chivas Regal. Because I'm not going to be done in by some guy that's driving an expensive car and is an idiot. Running this country, taking a coom-shaw and back-ass money. I needed that job. You know? So what they do a little while later? Well, there's a bomb threat in the building. I'm done with the war, honey. There's cops in the front building, blast suits on, firemen, padlocks, face shields, and they're cutting padlocks off. Does that sound like a bomb threat to you? In the back, my supervisor's not there, and I got to see the guy at the building next door, and he says, if you want to leave, you can leave. We can't make you stay. So there was a guy in his building that had a truck, and I had money, but I had no truck, so we left. I get a reprimand the next day, walked off the job. Hey, you know what? That was my little experience with the Father. He gave me my signs, and it just kept going from there. And I said God, and I probably still said Jesus then, but once you have the knowledge, you can't anymore. This information about Yahweh and Jesus is damning. If I tell you about, Yahshua instead of Jesus, or I tell you Ishi instead of Lord, Yahweh instead of God, and then you have this information, you don't use it, I practically damned you. But now that you have the knowledge, you can't be a child anymore. When you were a child, you thought as a child, and you're a man, now you think as a man. Well, we're going to can this thing up pretty quick and get it off to you. Get ready for some more discs. Joyce, much love and care. Always and only the truth. Expect the best. Send us a letter. You don't got to send us a disc. We know you're a busy lady. Catalog of your stuff would be nice. We don't have a catalog. And I did have one of your Doug Rocky discs, and I gave it to a vet. Maybe you got one of those laying around. No, I don't have a DD-214. I got that in the same sack. I keep my military bearing in. Or maybe it's in that Crown Cellar box, butt wipe box. Sleep well. Suum bonum. Well, I made an error. It wasn't Jonah and the Fleece. What was that movie with, was that Brad Pitt? Who was the guy, the 300? Wasn't that Greek warrior? No. It's the other 300. It's the biblical 300. Didn't you ever see the movie of the 300? Yeah, but they're going to tell about Gideon and the 300. So for everything in the scriptures, there is the story in our daily lives of the 300. They hide it. But it's not Jonah and the Fleece. In fact, it was Gideon, and he looked for 300, and that was the guy. He says, okay, let's see you drink water. And he's got people down there going, goop, goop, goop. And he's got people doing this, keep their hand in their sword, and they're dipping their hand in their mouth. And he picked 300 people from that. They had like 10, I believe they had 10,000 or something. But, oh my, I think that, didn't they have pots of oil? And they smashed them and the oil lit and all that. It was pretty neat. But I got my 2 signs. And that was the Bible scripture I used as a reference so that I could have a reasonable act that I asked the Father for. 2 signs. And man, we're going to really relax on the rest of these discs. We've got a website to start up and get information on that. We're going to go ahead and send this disc and send. You're going to get two of them back to back. I guess they're both going out in the next few days. And we're going to send you. Should we send her the Obama letter and another one?
Sure.
Okay, we're going to send you the letters we sent to Obama and Dinglehead, the attorney William L. Haynes.
Hey, you call him Dinglehead.
But there's one really fun thing. My wife Dana was such a good researcher. She was looking at. My dad taught her. He says you can read the quotes. That's the part that you can sue him for in the newspaper. He goes, oh, yeah, Mr. Harris, you know that. And the pictures. She looks at this picture. She showed me this picture in the newspaper years ago. This one, Berlin Wall fell. She goes, look at this, look at this. I go, what is it? She goes, it's in a bank. And I go, yeah, okay. There's a lot of people in the bank. She goes, look what they're doing. I go, what? They have glasses of water. And I'm like, what? And then I taught her to look, and here she is showing me the good girl Dana was, you know. And they've been in that bank for, I guess, 4 days, maybe 7 days without food. And they started passing around water because of that East and West German dollar thing. It was really something. But we got to looking into the Lady in Red that John Fitzgerald Kennedy would go see in Washington, D.C. and go out on a night for the town. It was J. Edgar Hoover. Straight up, J. Edgar Hoover was the Lady in Red. I don't know if they went dining and dancing or canoodling, but it was J. Edgar. You have a nice day. And we'll just put these little discs out, and we'll just keep them coming. And when you get tired of them coming and you don't like hearing us, we've got the buzzy sound thing stopped. And we'll see if we can increase the lighting a little better and make it all much better. We should have the other camera up and running. We've got to get the logic and the interpretive data to decode the wang and bang to put it on the picture as blastic as... Oh, and that's the other thing. We in this government, you know, who are we going to elect? You know, Rick what the heck from Texas, or Brad Pitt, or is it Romney, or this and that. But you know, they always said you can't discuss religion or politics. And I always thought, you know, those are those two guys, those two Roman guys. So this year, I got to make up my mind, man. I got to vote for religical or politicus. And Father Yahweh bless Joyce's place, bless her people. With the greatest sincerity I've ever known. Touch their heart, have them look at this stuff. And Joyce, I'd really appreciate a disc from Doug Rocky. And if he's got a new letter out or something, he's still alive. It's really great. I heard him on one of your shows a couple months back. The Atomic Vets. We know, baby. We know. Thanks for taking your time with our stuff. And I hope that keep them. We'll dupe them. Send them off to people. If you want to dupe them, send us a letter. What do you want to do? We can make our stuff as long or as short or custom tailored. I can respond to questions. I can be a real sane guy. Yeah, I ate school paste, and I really liked yellow Play-Doh. And Mom says, don't use my pinking shears. And I'm like, okay. And then I find out it would cost more to sharpen the scissors than it did to buy them, although that she bought them for $38. Yahweh bless you. Keep you. May the Holy Spirit give you, may the Father give you a greater portion of his Holy Spirit. May the Holy Spirit pray for you in utterings and words not understood by man. Some hay meat and cannot eat, and some wad eat that want it. But we hay meat and we can eat, and say the Lord be thanked. Something that hung in my mother's kitchen. There was something that hung in my mom's sister's kitchen. Kwitcherbelyakan. Quit your belly aching. That was kind of fun. George, you got salt and fresh water coming out of the same pipe. Yeah, that's what they say. But if we lose our salt, we're useless to everybody else. We're the salt of the world, the light of the world. He was the light of the world while he was here, and then he left us. And we'll get to raising the dead and a few other things. You ever held anybody in your arms dying, Joyce? Men, women? I never lost one that wasn't saved. Never lost one that wasn't. You know, if they went, they were saved. And I saved one that was a pregnant woman. So I got a twofer out of that one. And one lady, I guess I killed her, you know. She died, and I'm like, take her, Dad, take her home, Yahweh. And she just laid there. And I'm like, God, this looks so cool. And he's like, you know, Well, how's that looking to you? I go, it ain't looking too good, man. Her eyes are fixed and dilated and glassy and... I can't do this. Man, her eyes are banging away and she gives it this. Does that. And I looked around her neck was a chain, had a brand new red inhaler. 2 under the tongue. She's going to have a headache when we're done, but she'll be better. Good night, sister. Sleep well.